Wildfires are sweeping through the Amazon rainforest at an alarming rate.
In 2019, images of the burning Amazon shocked the world.
There's a major tragedy going on in the Amazon, which is really the lungs of the earth.
The Amazon rainforest itself is reaching a tipping point. If much more deforestation happens, the ecosystem would collapse.
The billions of trees store so much carbon, they help to slow down global warming. They're also home to an amazing tenth of all species in the natural world. Some unnerving, others adorable. But the sight of bare earth and dead trunks is becoming more common, with huge tracts of forest wiped out. My footsteps and distant birdsong are the only sounds. It's tragic to see this close up. To bring these trees down to the ground, they just knock them over with a bulldozer. This is happening all over the Amazon to create new farmland. And the result is that the great forest has never been under such pressure. Over the decades, field by field, many trees have made way for agriculture. But that's set to speed up because of a massive push for development. The new president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, was elected on a promise to exploit the Amazon. He's delighted his supporters by saying too much of the forest is protected. His environment officials are deeply worried, but he's banned them from saying anything in public. You're trying to save the forest. So we have to meet this official in secret. His face hidden and voice changed, he says the government is trying to cover up the loss of the forest.
Eles não querem que a gente fale porque nós vamos falar a verdade. Nós vamos falar que as unidades de conservação estão sendo invadidas e estão sendo destruídas. Há muitas pessoas fazendo marcações de lotes de propriedades rurais dentro de áreas que deveriam estar sendo protegidas. E os números de desmatamento aumentam, mas poderiam ser ainda maiores.
And the scale of the deforestation he describes is staggering. Up here, at the top of this 50-meter high observation tower, the view is just phenomenal, out over what looks like a great ocean of green. This is the canopy of the largest rainforest in the world. The problem is that more and more of it is being chopped down. It's hard to believe, but an area the size of a football pitch is being cleared every single minute. What that means is that forest that could cover more than 2,000 pitches is just vanishing every day. And all the signs are that this rate of devastation will accelerate. Cattle are the biggest single reason the trees are cleared. They're grazing on land that used to be forest. Brazilian beef is in big demand all over the world. And the president's vision of expanding agriculture here has delighted the farmers, like Vanderlei Wegner, who says other countries cut their forest down long ago.
Nós temos que desenvolver a Amazônia, né? Porque vamos supor aqui na região do Baixo Amazonas, na região de Santarém, vive mais de 4 milhões de pessoas. Então, se precisa ter desenvolvimento também, é direito constitucional.
Farming on an industrial scale has already reached the Amazon, but the government wants to see more of it.
But inside Brazil, the global outcry raised a different kind of alarm: foreign meddling.
Esse é boom de vadio que eles não querem saber de árvore, eles querem saber do minério do Brasil.
Look at how huge they are. And it's emboldened further deforestation under the banner of a nationalist economic agenda.
Nós temos o direito de adotar políticas para essa área que nos interessem.
The present position is we have to develop the Amazon.
We've just passed about 7-8 kilometers of trucks at a standstill. It's just insane.
But the Amazon's industrial expansion isn't exactly what it seems.
So it seems as though there's a lot of unwitting complicity, regular Americans like you and I.
That's right.
There's a broad consensus that says that we're reaching a tipping point.
Não, não há. Não tem queimada, não tem fumaça, não tem nada. Olha o céu como está bonito, lindo.
Flying over this thick carpet of green, there's a certain tranquility of it all.
The Amazon is the largest tropical rainforest in the world. Between 1990 and 2007, It reportedly took in a quarter of all carbon absorbed by forests worldwide, a critical bulwark against climate change. 60% of the Amazon lies within the borders of Brazil.
Wildfires are sweeping through the Amazon rainforest at an alarming rate.
Reports of fires raging through the region dominated global headlines.
This is a clear sign that we need to stop destroying nature, and our war against nature must end.
And the world called on Brazil to contain the blaze in an Amazon that has already lost 20% of its landmass to deforestation in the last 4 decades.
The world's largest rainforest, the Amazon, is crucial to any climate change solution for its capacity to sequester carbon, and it is on fire.
As you look out, we're not seeing lots of big fires, but you do see lots of small ones kind of dotting the horizon.
These agents from IBAMA, an arm of Brazil's environmental ministry, say the first step in deforestation is clear-cutting valuable timber, whether legally or, like this logging operation, illegally.
Look at how huge they are. The authorities that we're following have said that they routinely come across operations like this deep inside the forest. This is just one step, one part of the process in seeing the forest being dismantled.
Since 1965, Brazil has enacted laws to protect the Amazon from destruction and from development that threatens the stability of its ecosystem and encroaches on the land of indigenous tribes. But enforcement is increasingly difficult. In this area of the rainforest, there is an average of just 1 agent for every 25 million acres.
The Amazon rainforest itself is reaching a tipping point. If much more deforestation happens, the ecosystem would collapse and turn into a savanna or a dry forest and no longer be the rich, biodiverse rainforest that it currently is.
And how close are we to that?
Well, in recent weeks and months, scientists have said that we're within maybe a couple of years at the rate that deforestation is currently happening.
And what are the major drivers of that?
The main drivers are the agribusiness industry, and so in particular that's cattle ranching and soy.
In 2018, Brazil overtook the US as the largest producer of soybeans in the world. The Brazilian Amazon also dominates the beef market, accounting for 1/5 of all global exports. Inside the rainforest, cattle ranching and soybean cultivation go hand in hand, and several towns have sprung up whose economies depend on these two commodities.
We're following a cattle rancher who invited us to his land to show us some of his plots. We're learning more and more that many of these farms are actually hidden, socked away inside what seems to be intact rainforest.
To create these farms, the trees are cleared and the debris is then burned. Of the 20% of rainforest that's been lost since the 1970s, more than half is now farmland.
A few more years to start putting it out. And yet, this is what the Commission are proposing today. When the EU presents this climate law and net zero by 2050, you indirectly admit surrender, that you are giving up on the Paris Agreement, giving up on your promises, and giving up on doing everything you possibly can to ensure a safe future for your own children. You yourselves declared that we are in a climate and environment emergency. You said this was an existential threat. Now you must prove that you mean it. This climate law is surrender. Because nature doesn't bargain, and you cannot make deals with physics.
and evidence of the economic potential of the Amazon and much more where this came from.
In addition to the highway, the other means by which goods are carried out of the Amazon is through two key rivers that meet at the port city of Santarém, still deep inside the rainforest.
So we're on the Tapajos River, which is a major corridor. It's almost like a highway for transporting goods. But we are just about to come to the intersection between the Tapajos and the fabled Amazon here.
Bom, Santarém ela é estratégica porque no rio ela tem o principal calado do rio que comporta grandes embarcações.
So where do these barges, where do they go?
Eles vão para o porto da Cargill.
That's Cargill?
Sim.
It's huge.
Cargill is a privately held American company that dominates the global grain trade. In a statement they provided, the company claims it has taken steps to advance its commitment to protecting forests.
So when you call this the Cargill port, what does that mean? Do they have, does Cargill have sole rights to this port?
Que faz a gestão, que administra. É só a Cargill. O governo cedeu para a Cargill fazer o porto. A presença da Cargill divide opiniões, porque tem alguns setores políticos, empresariais, que acham que a Cargill foi importante para boom do desenvolvimento.
The presence of foreign companies and increased development inside the Amazon has drawn the attention of environmental watchdogs.
We wanted to look at the supply chains and the financial flows between the outside world and the Brazilian Amazon.
The nonprofit group Amazon Watch traced foreign investments by analyzing 4 years' worth of financial records.
And what we found was that many of the financial actors that are investing in the companies involved in deforestation in the Brazilian Amazon, as well as the purchasers of the products, are based in the US and in Europe. The four big soy traders operating in the Brazilian Amazon are ADM, Bunge, Cargill, and Louis Dreyfus. And here you can see all of the banks that are providing credit to those companies. We've got number one over here is BNP Paribas, JP Morgan Chase, based right here in the US. And the down here are the equity investors, so basically the shareholders in these companies. Big US named asset managers, right? So Vanguard, State Farm, BlackRock, State Street.
These are all American and European companies.
That's right. We looked specifically at North American and European companies that are complicit in the destruction of the Amazon today. I think we're shielded from what our money is doing abroad.
The example of BlackRock is a really good one to look at because it helps demonstrate that murkiness, right? So it is an asset manager that takes other people's money through their pension funds or maybe a rich person who gives them their funds to invest. Then BlackRock says, oh, well, it's not our money, it's somebody else's money, so we have no responsibility for the impacts of those investments, is their claim. And our answer to that is, no, you very much do. You are advising your clients about where to put their money. When you're creating funds that are ignoring the impacts for the climate, for indigenous rights, for the Amazon rainforest, then yeah, you have a direct responsibility and a complicity in what we're seeing on the ground.
The loudest voices when we were hearing the global uproar over the Amazon burning was from Americans and Europeans. And here you've kind of laid out the complicity that these companies, and by extension us, our money, helps drive this.
Absolutely.
In the months since the Amazon fires, dozens of protests that have taken place around the world increasingly target the money that funds deforestation.
About 10 or so have showed up with panels essentially blocking the employee entrance into the building. About 150 so people here calling attention to BlackRock, which is a major financial institution.
BlackRock manages $7 trillion of assets, including millions of Americans' pension funds and 401ks. It's among the top 3 shareholders in global companies deemed a risk to deforestation. They declined an interview, but provided a statement that included, BlackRock is committed to putting sustainability at the center of our investment approach.
You know, if you work at a university or at a grocery store that has a pension fund, I mean, and, you know, BlackRock could be managing your money.
So it seems as though there's a lot of unwitting complicity.
That's right.
On behalf of regular Americans like you and I.
That's right. And the Amazon is still burning even today, months after the fires gained international attention. There are still fires happening, and of course, the government policies are still being rolled back, and so we're definitely not going to stop.
In January 2020, BlackRock's CEO published a letter urging companies to prioritize combating climate change. But untangling the web of investments and supply chains inside the Amazon is far from straightforward. The Brazilian government cut funding for protections for the Amazon in 2019. Ibama's budget was slashed by 25%, and Bolsonaro fired the head of the country's space agency following its publication of the scope of the fires. Bolsonaro did not respond to our requests for an interview.
Moro aqui há 20 anos, eu criei meus filhos aqui, fiz tudo isso aqui com minhas mãos. Cometi crime ambiental, se arar a terra, plantar e criar gado é crime, eu sou um criminoso, literalmente.
Olha o céu como está bonito, lindo. Não tem queimada, não tem fumaça, não tem nada. Então, dá para você, vindo aqui ver, é que você vai ter a realidade. Pode olhar, boa, tudo preservado, não tem nada.